So personally, I found the biggest problem in teaching Skyrim was like justifying it to the students. It seems like if you didn't have like a prior interest in history before taking the class, or like just in general, then you don't really see the value in studying how history is presented in modern media. Um, or they just like don't care enough to take it seriously. Um, we knew like when we started the with the class like on Skyrim, the one we had, that a lot of students were going to take it because they thought it was like a joke class. Like they're like, oh, Skyrim, like it's going to be a bird course or whatever. Um, and our goal was to show the substance in the study of medievalism and kind of have Skyrim be like a launch pad for future learning. In my opinion, it's like completely impossible to take this course and to not it'd be impossible to take this course and not have it change the way that you consume historical media. Like when you go in depth in the game and you see how much work is put into the lore and like the religions in the game and the literature and stuff like that, it's impossible to not apply that to other games that you play. And like there are of course other courses at the university that allow you to look at different games through like the same frameworks. um, I think that what we got to do is push the frameworks a lot more, like Echo's 10 Middle Ages and stuff like that. That way, they have a stronger basis to look like to further study into like this kind of stuff. It's um, it's just kind of important because I guess it makes it seem a little bit more I don't want to say like sciencey, but official. Like when there's like certain terms that are associated with it, people can go, oh, people have done work on this, like because I just feel like a lot of kids are coming in and being like, what even is this? We're just looking at a video game. Who cares? And it's like, you really should care. You really should. Um, I do think that Skyrim is a pretty good launch pad. Like, it's a good place to start off with. It's really recent, and like, so like I played Skyrim, and like a lot of the kids who took the course, of course some didn't, but a lot of them who took it were like, oh my god, I love Skyrim. Like, Skyrim has really withstood the chance of time. And so when you're learning about it and you're learning about the historical influences on it and the representations in it, then you go, oh my god, oh, that, like you harken back to it. And like it's like even me, like I was when we were talking about the whalebone bridge and comparing it to the Bifrost, I was like, oh, how did I never think of that before? Um, Even if I missed it in 305, sorry about that. um, yeah, but it also still has a lot of the familiar tropes that we see in other medievalist um, like media and games and stuff like that. Like the big one I was thinking about was the human elf dynamic. Like I remember us talking about how elves are always just used as this like metaphor for racism because of course even that has to make its way in, and that's another thing because often through medieval media, like it's not, we don't really know what that time is like, so what we kind of do is project our modern issues on medieval times. Like it we kind of tackle similar things. I mean, all games and all art is always used to, it always has some kind of commentary, but I guess it just seems more appealing to people when they view it through a different time. um, and with like kind of with human elf racism and with Skyrim in particular, a major issue, of course, is its relation to white supremacy. And you said yourself, we cannot talk about this game if we do not discuss its relation with like the white power movement, and that in itself kind of like that expands to the broader issue of the weaponization of history and miseducation, and how I really feel like I gotta go on a mission to just right all the wrongs that are prevalent in historical representations, like just to kind of set people straight so that people can stop twisting history for their own sick purposes. Um, it's we need to push that, but that really shows the value in it because you go, oh wow, like it's really everywhere. Like Now, to get back to the frameworks and like the different categorizations of like medievalism and how history is represented in the media. I don't think the goal is to get rid of different interpretations. Like we can't escape that. Like even with other time periods like Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, you still see this kind of uh, distinct presentation of say of the West, of it, you know, Wild West stuff like that. I mean, of course, it's coming off like true stuff, but it's still a different romanticization and also a bit of a grotesque kind of portrayal. And to use the words from like the paragraph you gave us, but we can't necessarily get rid of those. Like I think, as with anything, there's always going to be stuff that's romanticized and stuff that's demonized or whatever, and made to or brutalized and made to look a lot worse than it was, because we're like, oh, that was a while ago, must have been savage, you know, must have just been a brutal, hard time to live in, and we disconnect ourselves so much from it. But the games kind of bring it back in by putting a modern spin and modern viewpoint on it. Um, so if we can't get rid of them, I think the thing that we have to do is educate and make sure that people are aware. I think there should be courses entirely, I guess, kind of on how certain things are portrayed and how to consume media a little bit more responsibly, so that you're really thinking critically about what you're consuming and how there might be like an agenda behind it, or what it's trying to get you to feel, I guess. But so, and if we educate, we're having especially like in history, we're having a whole generation of students that are going in and really looking at the world critically and looking at um, medievalism critically. Like we know, like it wouldn't have been necessarily any better to base it off Kingdom Come Deliverance, the game that tried to be so realistic it sucked. But you know, like we'll never get a perfect representation of the Middle Ages that we can use as like a bouncing point, or at least that'll be popular enough that we can really use as a study to bring people in and kind of, you know, just Trojan horse some information in there. Who's that? My mom. You know, we'll never really have that, but you know, since we'll never really have that, this is really as good of a starting point as any, and I think it draws people in, and I think if we just teach them right and really hammer on them, this, you know, this is a serious discipline, then I think they can come out of it a little more critical. I think they can come out of it with just a better eye for misrepresentations and weaponizations of history.